does RTMP have legs, and where do RTMP and WebRTC coexist?
Yeah, I mean, I think RTMP defines streaming media, right? And I think it's to a technology to live for almost 20 years in this day and age is unbelievable. RTMP is still the most widely used contribution protocol in the world and will be for at least another couple of years. Mm-hmm. The problem is that's where it stops. It's only a contribution piece. And when we compare what we're trying to build now, is we're trying to build a point-to-point contribution, mixing, and distribution protocol that never has to leave that protocol. It never has to be transmuxed. It can, because then you can retain all the value point to point. Okay. A lot of the stuff that we want to build around these workflows are actually not even in the video and the audio, they're in the data channel. The minute we have to go from one protocol to another, we lose all of that control. Just think of what we try to do with all these RTMP features, and then we have to pull them into HLS. So we have servers like Wowza and others that do all that translation, right? To add that value and translate that value through those little transmuxers or translators. I think when it goes back to talking about SRT and NDI, and they were always built, SRT is a great protocol, but it's a contribution protocol. It never will be a distribution protocol. What we have to learn with RTMP point-to-point is there was one vendor at the center of it. And there was another vendor, Apple, that put an end to it all, right, with the iPhone from a distribution side. We need to recreate that, but we need to recreate that using internet and web standards that are here for the foreseeable future. And I don't think there's anything else that does that outside of WebRTC from contribution, mixing, and distribution. And I'd love to see, there's a lot of questions around encoder maturity with WebRTC, and it's little by little, we're getting a few software encoders now adopting that. The minute we start getting a lot of hardware encoders built on WebRTC and standardizing the signaling protocol with WIP, the more you're going to see those point-to-point use cases that allow us to use SVC end-to-end, allow us to control the data channel and standardize the data channel end-to-end. That's the piece where I think it starts becoming a very compelling use case for WebRTC specifically.
Okay.
And truly replaces RTMP end-to-end. We're trying to compare WebRTC to RTMP or HLS. RTMP has been around almost 20 years. So it has a maturity level that it's not quite fair to compare. The other side too is RTMP was designed for broadcast and for streaming. WebRTC was originally designed for web use. Now as it's maturing, it is becoming a broadcast contribution protocol. Sure. You have I have a ton of broadcasters who use us for live contribution with WebRTC. So as now more encoders at the client side or at the client side level start building in the maturity level, that's where we need the broadcast industry to start adopting it, because then we're going to start be able to compare apples to apples between one protocol and the other.